What's going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to review Recoverfun's Cold Plunge Core. And I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this awesome cold plunge pod and chiller combo that's under $1,000. I do want to say that Recoverfun did send me this product in exchange for a review, but that's not going to affect what I say about this product, and I'm going to give you my complete and honest opinion in this video. I will tell you that I'm pretty happy with it so far, so let's get into some of the details right now. First, I want to talk about what you get with the Recoverfun Cold Plunge Core setup. Basically just going over what's in the box and some of the specs. The price is $997, and when you order it, you'll receive the pod and the chiller. In the pod box, there's the cold plunge pod itself, a thermo lid, an all-weather cover, 6 support legs, a hand pump to fill the rim with air, a drain hose, 2 repair patches. There's 2 drain taps that are attached to the pod for inlet and outlet. You get a carry bag. They also include a nice little neoprene mat for you to step on when you get in and out of your pod. You also get a 1-year limited warranty on the pod itself, plus a 1-month limited warranty on the top ring and the thermal lid too. The pod is 80 centimeters, which is 31.5 inches in diameter. The height is 75 centimeters, which is 29.5 inches. The capacity is 320 liters, which is 84.5 gallons. Empty, the pod weighs 3.5 kilos, which is 7.7 pounds. And when you fill this thing up, it weighs about 320 kilos, which is 705 pounds. So it's not going to tip over when you get in and out of it once this thing is full. It also says that it's suitable for people who are up to 6'7", which is pretty damn tall. The pod itself has 2 aluminum foil layers, and it says it's 4 times thermal insulated TPE layers. I don't know what that means, but it's insulated. In the chiller box, you'll get the Recoverfun 1/3 horsepower water chiller, 2 hoses with extra EVA insulation, 5 hose connectors, a water filter set. This is more of a sediment filter. I wouldn't rely on it completely to keep the water clean. It's more to keep debris out of the pump. The filter and the water pump are already attached and makes it easy to put together, which I'll talk about in a bit. You also get a standard US power cord if you're ordering from the United States. The chiller also has a 1-year warranty as well. This is a 1/3 horsepower chiller. It's 110 volts, 60 hertz, if you care about that stuff. They say that it costs about 10 to 20 bucks a month to run this thing. I don't know if that's true because I just got this thing and I haven't been using it that long, so I don't know. It does say that the lowest temperature for the chiller is 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 5 degrees Celsius, but I did notice that you can set it lower. Probably do that at your own risk because there's plenty of disclaimers saying that you shouldn't do it on the manual and on their website. The cooling water volume is 80 gallons, which is the size of this pod, so that makes sense. They also state that the chiller is rated for indoor or outdoor use, and it can operate 24/7. It's 11.4 inches by 11.4 inches by 12.6 inches, which is 290 millimeters by 290 millimeters by 320 millimeters. And it only weighs 31 pounds, which is 14 kilos. As far as the setup goes, it's pretty straightforward and simple. To set up the pod, you just have to slide in all the support rods into each slot, and you just need to fill the rim of the pod with air, and you need to fill the thermo lid with air. I did make a mistake when I was filling them up with air, and I didn't realize that there was 2 ways to undo the valve. And if you pull it at the big part of the valve, you kind of let all the air out, and there's a smaller piece that you can open to actually fill it with air where the air won't leak out, and it gives you a nice tight seal. My mistake for just not noticing.
All right, this part's super annoying.
Later on, when I was filling it with water, I took a better look and realized that I had made that mistake, and I filled it up with air, and the hand pump worked just fine to do that. One really cool thing about the setup that was super simple is these have these interlocking connectors that you just kind of slide on. You don't need to screw anything in, you don't need to mess with any plumber's tape, and it's really easy to just kind of slide them on and connect them where you need to connect them, and it gets done pretty quick. I'll say that the setup for this was super simple. I referred to the manual just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes, but it was pretty much plug and play. I just had to connect a few things and fill this thing up with water, and it was good to go. The pump just starts when you plug it in, and the chiller has a shut-off switch on the back, and then you can set it from the front controls. I did notice that there's a small leak from the bottom valve on the pod when it's connected to the filter, but that goes away once I start the pump, and there's suction going through that. So I don't know if it's because it needs to create a vacuum in order for that to kind of seal itself up. But if I just turn the valve to the off position, the leak stopped. I will say that it's a bit of a flaw, and having a leak is still annoying, even though it's not a problem once I get it running. After I had it running for a while, I did notice another small leak that was coming from the chiller itself on one of the connections there. I really think I might just need to tighten the attachment that's on there, and that'll probably resolve that, which I'm gonna try to do. And if it's messed up, they have a 1-year warranty, so I'll send it back. But other than that, there wasn't any major leaks or any major problems that I have seen so far. Right after I set it up, before I started recording this portion of the video, I had it running for a bit to try to cool it down. The manual does say that it can take a while to cool it down, depending on the temperature that it starts at. The water that I put in there from the tap was 62 degrees, and after about an hour or so, it got it down to 58. I will say that all in all, it's fairly quiet. The loudest part of this whole thing is the pump itself, and the chiller's not too loud at all either. The convenience and the ease to set this up, this thing literally took me 20 minutes to set up, if that. And the hardest part about this setup was filming it. If I didn't have to film it, I would have had this thing set up in no time, and that's a huge selling point for me. And if you're someone who's just getting into cold plunging and you don't want to go through the hassle of setting something up yourself and dealing with all that, a little setup like this is perfect, and for the price, you can't beat it. Now I'm going to turn this thing back on. I'm going to set it to 41 degrees, and I'm going to see how long it takes to get there, and then I'll jump in the pod to test it out and give you my final thoughts and opinions on this thing.
I wanted to make a quick update before I get to the second half of this video. And I just want to say that I was having an issue cooling this thing, but it was totally user error. There's a built-in feature on the chiller that once it hits the temperature you set it to, it shuts off in order to save energy. And then once it gets to a certain temperature above that, it starts back on to bring it down. I think it's about 3 degrees or so. It actually was getting to 41 degrees. It's just when I came in and I checked it, it had been at 42 or 43 and getting ready to kick back on to bring it down to 41. And I just wasn't aware of it. I contacted customer support and they cleared that up for me. So there is no issue with this thing cooling down, just in case I mentioned that towards the end of the video. All right, let's get back to me reviewing this thing.
So it's about 2 in the afternoon right now. I've had this thing running since 5 a.m. and it's down to 43 degrees. But 43 degrees is still really, really cold. I've been doing my ice baths lately at about 45, and sometimes I go as low as 40. So 43 is perfect for me, and that's gonna be really cold for most people, especially if you're just getting into this. Because when I started out, I was doing them in the mid 50s, and that was super cold. And now I can get down to the low 40s, and that's still really cold for me. So I'm gonna just shut this thing off and unplug it and jump in there, because that's an extra safety precaution that you should take. I do believe that the manual tells you to do that, and it's something that I do with my DIY cold plunge so that I don't electrocute myself to death. All right, let's get to it. I'll say it definitely feels cold.
Ooh, definitely cold. Ooh. It's never easy. Ugh. I fit just fine in here. My knees are up. I could sit cross-legged if I want. I'm ready to go back to a pod setup like this. I've been using my stock tank DIY setup and I like it, but I'll say it's kind of almost harder to get in and out of it, maybe from the mental aspect, because you kind of got to lay into it. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it sounds crazy. I'm sure it does, but to be able to kind of just sit into this, I can see why the barrels and the pods are kind of popular. I also don't know how much water just came out of this. It's my first time using it. I had it exactly at where they said to set the levels to. I don't like getting in super slow like a lot of people do. Dunk myself in as quickly as possible so that I can get through the shock and then start suffering for as long as I decide to be in here for. I'm 6'1" on a good day and 200 pounds. I fit in here just fine. I'm getting really cold. It read 43 degrees, which is just right for me. I personally haven't seen any more benefit from going any colder. I talk about that in a video I just made about doing ice baths for the last 3 months. But all in all, I think this gets the job done. It's a cool little setup, and for $1,000 you can't beat it. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. The leak from the valve at the bottom was leaking a little bit, but I had it running for almost 8 hours. Well, it's 2 now, so 9 hours, and it's a really, really small puddle. The leak at the top of the chiller actually is gone. I just kind of hand tightened it a little bit, so it must have just been a little bit loose.
and all I had to do was fidget with it. I didn't have to use any tools or put any extra plumber's tape or anything like that, and it was good to go. So that leak stopped. It's just that small leak on the bottom valve that's kind of bugging me. Again, it's not a huge leak. I'm gonna see if I can try to mess with it a little bit to fix it myself, and if worse comes to worse, I'll reach out to Recoverfun and see if they can fix it for me. Other than that, I think this is a great little setup. All right, I think that's it. I think I'm gonna get out of here. I'm freezing, my toes hurt. Whew. I had to get out of there to finish off the video, but I will say that for the price, for the size, for what you're getting out of this system, or if you're looking for something small, convenient, easy to set up, that isn't gonna take up a bunch of room and can get down into the low 40s, I think this setup is perfect. But keep in mind that even some of the bigger, more expensive setups that you'll find out there only get down to 41 degrees. But again, for the price that you're paying here, I think this is a great little setup. And especially if you're a beginner who's just looking to get started with taking cold plunges and you don't want to deal with the hassle of having to cool this thing down by using ice or freezing bottles like I did, I think this is a great way to get started. And it's a convenient little cold plunge setup that you can put in the corner of your garage in your backyard somewhere that isn't going to take up a lot of room and looks pretty nice. I will say that my DIY setup isn't the nicest looking. The stock tank is kind of ugly. Unless you live on a farm, you're probably not used to having a stock tank in your garage or in your backyard, but I don't really care so much about how that stuff looks. But if I was looking for something a little more aesthetically pleasing, this definitely looks better than my setup. I think this thing is just perfect, honestly. I wish I would have come across this when I was looking to buying a setup, because it would have saved me some money and it would have got the job done. And I think that if you're looking for something to get the job done, this thing will be right up your alley. If you do want to check out this cold plunge, go check out recoverfun.com. The link is in the description below. If you use that link, I will get a little bit of commission off of that. Also, if you use the coupon code Dorian, you'll also get a little discount as well. So go ahead and check them out if you're interested in picking this up. All right, with all that said, I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.